Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's Sarah from I Am Simple Natural Life. Thank you for joining me today. I am talking about, are you doing what's expected of you? And by that I mean our lives can be dictated so easily by the expectations of society. And you may be making your decisions, you feel you're making your decisions from a conscious place of what you want, and actually you're making your decisions from a place of what do people expect me to do? And that is true of most people, because it's not the natural way of being, but it's our conditioned way of being. And then we're so conditioned that it feels natural and it feels odd to do things that other people aren't doing, or doing things that aren't normal for you, because people, they expect you to do the kind of stuff, that's how you are, and that's the stuff that they expect of you. And it's hard to start doing things that are different to that. But, you get one life, or maybe you get more, but you've got this life. We know that one for sure. And it's about just being as you can be, and making decisions that actually serve you, that actually feel what you want to do. So let's have a look at that in more detail, looking at all my notes. The expectations of society restrict our choices, and we are conditioned from day zero to conform. That's it. So most of our formative years, 0 to 7, is where we pick up a lot of these messages that in those early years, we are reliant 100% for our survival upon our caregivers, and therefore we will do whatever it takes to keep within the love or the protection of that caregiver or caregivers. So if, as a very young child, you do something that does not meet the approval of your caregiver, the risk is that that caregiver could abandon you. And literally, it is a life or death situation. When you are very young, instinctively, that is how it is. So you learn very early on to do exactly what you have to do to keep yourself safe and keep yourself alive. And we then continue with those lessons. Most of us go to school, or went to school, and school, one of the top things you learn, if not the top thing, in fact it's the top thing, how to conform. That is valued above all else. The standardization of education, it's all about conformity. It's the standardizing of what you learn and how you behave. This is why, like, entrepreneurs often don't do very well at school, because they're just no good at conforming in that nice little box that school and society as a whole wants you to be in. And so they often fail at school because they're not conforming and they're not ticking the boxes. And if you think, like, the techniques that they use at school, really from like the first day with the littlies, stuff like behavior charts on walls. My child, when she did like a year and a bit of school, there was this behavior chart on the wall with everyone's names, and there was like a sunshine and a pot of gold and a rain cloud and whatever, and if you did something the teacher liked, you'd be moved up to like this rainbow in the rain cloud or whatever. And if you did something that the teacher didn't like, you'd be down on that rain cloud. And it was there for everyone to see. That is a tool to teach conformity. You don't want to be that child that everyone's looking at the chart and thinking, they're naughty, they're not nice, they're on the rain cloud. That boy, he's always on the rain cloud. You know, that kind of, it's that pressure of seeing other people that aren't, you know, like those. So, I don't know, let's say you forgot to put your coat on at playtime, and that's a big enough thing that puts you on the rain cloud. And then you look and nobody else, they're all on the sunshine or the rainbow, and some people, they're on the pot of gold, and they're going to get a prize. They get a prize, they get rewarded because they're on the pot of gold, and I didn't, because I didn't do what I had to do. I didn't conform because I didn't feel I needed to wear my coat, or I just forgot, whatever. I didn't do the thing that was expected of me, and therefore I'm not going to get the reward that they got for conforming. And you very quickly learn in school that the easy life is to conform and do what's expected. And that's how you get through school, and even do well at school and thrive at school is by conforming. And then we go on to work, don't we? And you have to conform in work. There's certain clothes you have to wear, there's certain behaviour that's expected, all that kind of stuff. If you think how you are in your home life and how you are in your work life, not for everybody, but the chance is there is a difference in behaviour, that you have just, you adapt who you are depending on the situation that you are in. And that is what you have learned from those early days through, you know, your real early childhood, where it was completely unsafe, not because if you lost your caregiver basically, or their approval, all the way through, it just gets cemented all those years through school. And it all links back to like our ancestors from like however many years ago, where we lived in like these sort of more tribal societies, that kind of thing, but where we were at risk of I don't know, wild animals and things like that actually we needed the protection of the people around us, and the conformity, again, a bit like in the early infant years, we needed the protection of our tribe, and therefore we needed to conform with what was expected of that tribe. And so we've continued this, that now it isn't a life and death situation whether you make the choice that's approved by society or not, but we still have that within us, that what will people think, you know? And I'm sure anyone watching this has had that thought before, when you want to do something different and it's, what will people think? And it's difficult to go against that, and that is why we make the choices that we make in life, you know? So I went to school because I was sent to school, and I did okay at school, and I'm naturally, I'm naturally I naturally conform. And it's only really since having children, but actually I've always done things a little bit differently perhaps, but within the realms of normal. So I live what I'd call a very mainstream life. You know, we're living in a house, in a nice area. We have very normal friends, all doing kind of normal stuff. But, you know, we home educate the children, or, you know, we just do things sometimes a little bit differently when it feels right to us. But to do that, we have to do the work that allows us to do that. And that's the hard bit. So for example, with the home education, that was really, really quite hard to know that we had to make a choice between what we truly felt was right for our children, compared with knowing that everyone around us and society as a whole expects children to go to school. And then it's like, oh my God, can we do this? Like, what if nobody wants to be our friend anymore? What if people don't like us? What if we get abuse for it? You know, and those were real thoughts and real possibilities. But it was then a case of working through, where's that coming from? What are you worried about? And is that likely to happen? So yes, there was a chance that people might not want to be friends with us anymore. That was a possibility. And then you had to think, well, what if that's the worst thing that could happen, what if that happened? I guess we'd go and make some new friends. And so when you boil it down to that level, suddenly we felt that we were in a place that we could make this change. And obviously the worst case scenario didn't happen. And we haven't lost our friends through home education. It has changed, certainly. It has changed some relationships with people. But we haven't lost any friendships. And I've gained new friendships, obviously, through the home ed community. So there's that as well. You know, so many people, I went to university because that's what everybody else did. It just didn't even occur to me that I wouldn't do that, because society expected me in the situation I was in. I felt this expectation that that's what I should do. I don't know how much thought I actually gave to the fact, like, is this actually worthwhile doing for the job that I want to go into? Should I do this? Is it an investment? And actually, I don't know even now what the answer would be, because it's just not something that I thought about. Everybody around me was going to university. I went to university. I guess it's, you know, it's like marriage. Everybody kind of gets married around the same age. That is no coincidence. We don't all meet the one love of our life all around the same age. That doesn't make sense. There's a lot is just to do with the conformity that at this kind of age you're expected to meet somebody, fall in love and get married, and that's what people do. And you know, I don't know if you're the same, but with my friend, you know, there was just for a few years, summer season, wedding after wedding after wedding, because everyone is doing kind of what's expected of them. And for some people, that might not have been the right choice. For a lot of people, it is the right time and they have found the right person. But I guess there wouldn't be so much divorce if it was that simple. So for some people, it would have been the right choice. But for some people, a lot of it would have been driven by this desire to conform. And the same in terms of looking at the job that you do. How many people just fall into a job without much thought over whether it's actually what they want to do? It's just that they are at an age where they need to go out and do something to earn a living. And, you know, the 9 to 5, that kind of job, that's what's normal. That's what people do. So that's what you go and do. And the thing is, you end up living your life as if you're living it in terms of a destination. So your destination point is retirement, and you're doing what you need to do. So you're conforming when you're tiny, you've gone to school, gone to university, maybe you've got a job, and you're just going to keep on doing that job in a very normal way, bringing up your children in a very normal way, doing normal stuff. And then when you retire, that's when you're going to just start living, doing the stuff that you want to do, doing the holidays you want to do, living your life in the way you want to do, sitting down watching the telly for 300 hours a day. Not that there's that many hours, but you know, you're doing what, that's when you see that life's starting. And actually when you get to that point, it doesn't happen because you're still conforming. And what does retirement look like? And you know, you've got to be careful with your money and whatever. And there's all these things that we have to conform to, and it is really hard to go against that. And then the question is, what can you do about it? So you understand how you've been brought up to conform and where that's coming from, but you still want to do this thing, or you still want to live your life slightly differently, or you know, you want to properly live with intention and making conscious decisions. So how do people do that if they've been brought up in this environment of conformity? The good news is it is possible, but you have to do the work, and that's with a capital T and a capital W. And this work is ongoing for people. So you will start to make some changes, having gone through the work, which I'll come on to. And then you'll reach like your upper limit. And then those feelings of contraction, what if, I can't do this, all of those things that are linked to your need to conform, your conditioning, those will come up again. And it's rather like an onion, and you're peeling off the layers, and you peel off some layers, and that enables you to do the next step. And then you need to peel off a few more layers to do the step after that, and then the step after that. And it's just, that's what you need to accept, because trying to make significant changes in your life without doing this work makes it really, really hard work. It's like an uphill battle, and you might make some changes and you might get so far, but things will start to kind of unravel. You might find that you're self-sabotaging without even realizing things aren't kind of working out how you hoped. And that's because you haven't done the work, and your subconscious isn't on board, and you're not feeling safe. So by the work, what I mean is, it's about having the awareness. So when you start thinking about the thing that you want to do, whether it could be to home educate your children, it could be to get a divorce, because actually it's what you want, but you've not done that because none of your friends are divorced, and your parents are still married and are very proud of the fact that they never got divorced, and you're worried about all of that. But at the same time, inside, you know you're not living the life you want to live, and you don't want to be with that partner anymore. Or I don't know, maybe you want to go become a vegan, and you're worried about what people are going to think if you're a vegan. Or, it could be literally anything that you feel inside of you that you want to do. You want to give up your 9-to-5 job and start, I don't know, become a rock climber. It doesn't matter. You've got this desire within you, and you've been kind of pouring water on it, and it keeps coming back to life, this little fire. And you want to give it a go. So it's about having the awareness of every time you are pouring the proverbial water on your little spark of fire. It could be your inner voice, that inner narrative that runs all the time, that might be telling you, no, you can't do that. No, people like us don't do stuff like that. No, it's not safe. You're not good enough. You'll fail. You never succeed. Those sorts of things that might go on. You'll feel a contraction potentially within your body, or you feel the stress. I always feel mine kind of in my stomach or my solar plexus around there. Notice it. Just be aware. So be aware of what's the voice inside your head telling you. Where do you feel it inside your body? And also, what's going on? What are your fears? Why are you actually stopping yourself? And when you're looking at what are your fears, that's where it's really useful to do this activity of the identifying what's the worst thing that could happen? What ultimately is my fear? you know, I want to home educate my children. I'm scared that I'll lose my friends. Okay, and what if I did? What then? And just ask yourself, and what then? And sometimes, or pretty often, the fear that you've got, actually the worst case scenario isn't as bad as you thought. And you get to a point when you can vision how you want your life to be, when you've made this change, how good it's going to feel and whatever, that starts to shout louder and feel better than the safety of staying where you are, because it's giving you the safety of the known. But if you don't like that life that you are living, or that part of your life that you are living, and it just doesn't feel good, actually taking that risk. So for me, taking the risk that if I home educated my children, that I might lose some of my friends, but I hated that feeling every day that I took my child to school. I hated that so much that actually became, it was worse to stay stuck where I was, sending her to school and doing the normal thing and conforming. That was worse than actually taking that risk and making that step, you know. And as it happened, I didn't lose my friends over it. But, you know, in the end, I was willing to take that risk, because the thought of just conforming and doing the normal thing, when it didn't align in my heart, and I did not feel good about it. In fact, I felt positively awful about it. I needed to make that change. And what I don't want you to do is to be so scared of making that change because of the what if, that actually you never do the thing that's in your heart, that you know that you really want to do, because you're too scared not to conform anymore. And I really do live a very mainstream life, but I just cherry pick the things that are really important to me, and we do those things differently. And when you are looking at the voice and what's going on for you, doing the work is about digging down and peeling those onion layers off and working out where some of this stuff is coming from. And that's where things like Ho'oponopono, EFT, like tapping, hypnotherapy, breath work's amazing. These things can really help you identify where these fears are coming from, and release them. And you will release a bit and you'll make progress forward, and then you go back and you release some more and you make more progress, and it becomes almost kind of like a game. Once you know the process and you know how it works and you can release this stuff, it can become kind of an enjoyable process once you understand what the process is, rather than this feeling of just being trapped and not knowing how to move forward. So I hope that helps. I hope you don't feel trapped, but I hope the way I've talked about conformity and where it comes from has helped you maybe think a little bit about the decisions that you make in your life and how you live your life, and just think whether those things feel truly aligned to how you want to be, or if you want to be brave enough to start making some changes. So I will see you again next week. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to the channel. Well, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you next week. Bye.